Today we're going to be looking at the NHL and we're going to be going through different things that they've done over the last 15 to 20 years. We're going to look at them and we're going to see how those decisions that they made benefited their brand as a league in sports. So here we go. First one is expansion teams. Personally, I would have this in the A category. The NHL is like one of the core North American sport leagues, one of the four that has expanded the most in the last 15 years, with teams like Vegas and Seattle being incorporated into the league, as well as teams like the Winnipeg Jets, who moved from Atlanta, the Utah Mammoth moving from Arizona. Like all these teams that moved over also allow those cities to grow their fan base as well, such as Vegas, for example, which I'm going to highlight really quick because after they got a team, they also got to host the All-Star Game, and they had an outdoor game in Nevada as well at Lake Tahoe. If I do recall, the 2024 draft was held at the Sphere in Las Vegas as well. So with the rising hockey community there, with the success of their franchise, expansion has proven to have a lot of benefits for the league as a whole. The second one is Faceoff inside the NHL. I'm going to put this one... I think I'm going to put this one at B. It's like an Amazon Prime show. Basically, it shows you the behind the scenes of the league, and it really shows you the players on a more personal level, allowing fans that are maybe new to the sport or not as well known to the sport, gives them a chance to really see it on a more relatable level to how they are, and really sees these, it shows you these athletes as humans instead of superhuman athletes. So yeah, I'm going to put that in the B tier for now. Things might move around. We'll see. Next, outdoor games. They started in 2004. I think that was the first outdoor game. And then they started the Winter Classic in 2008, and since then they've had one a year, and now they've expanded to having 2-3 outdoor games a year even. It's a great series, it's fun, but in recent years, a lot of the time it's been talked about as the summer series because it's been hosted a lot in Florida and Vegas and a lot of southern states there that don't experience cold weather as much as, northern states or Canada. So, I'm going to put it in B. Next, we have celebrities. I'm going to do C for this one, personally. This one's interesting because there's a lot of examples of different celebrities being on NHL broadcasts, like when Shaq was on there for the TNT panel during the 2024 and 2025 playoff. Snoop Dogg as well was a broadcaster in NHL 20, the video game. And they've also had numerous amount of celebrities come in to the NHL draft and do announcing the draft picks. Most notably, out of my memory, is having Adam Sandler come in and do the Boston Bruins 7th overall pick in the 2025 NHL draft, which happened to be James Hagens. Truly, that was kind of cool, but the celebrity involvement has cool moments in it, but it doesn't really have a long-lasting effect, except for maybe getting new fans a little bit involved, but a lot of the long-term fans aren't seeing it as a huge benefit, you could say. Next up, looks like we have having NHL players play at the Olympics, which the 2026 Olympics so far have been phenomenal. I've watched most games so far. But yeah, it's been amazing with these NHL players really being allowed to play best on best. They haven't been able to do so since 2014. There was really a rising fan surge in allowing best on best hockey in recent years as to the creation of the Four Nations Faceoff, which I think in turn helped the NHL make that decision of allowing their players to play in the Olympics. So I'm going to say this is S tier for sure because nothing beats a little bit of nationalism and, players actually trying for their country. This is the Shootout. Now, the Shootout is the only thing on this list that is outside of the 20-year window. It was introduced in 2005 after the league wanted to decide to stop with ties after a 3-on-3 5-minute overtime period, so they introduced the shootout after the overtime period. I think it was a good introduction at first to allow allow ties to no longer be existent, but in recent years you've seen the shootout become less favorable in the eyes of the hardcore fans. It still has some exciting moments, don't get me wrong, but I would say that the shootout is more or less appreciated than it used to be. The Stanley Cup playoffs in 2020. This is the infamous playoff bubble when the world shut down due to COVID. Stanley Cup playoffs were undecided. No one knew who was going to win because the league shut down with like 60 games in. So they decided to do a full-on playoff bubble, which included more teams than the normal playoffs include, to give those teams that were in playoff contention in the 2020 season a chance to fight for the playoffs, which this was amazing. There was no fans in the building, but it gave people online lots of hockey to watch. It gave them lots of opportunities to be supportive, and it gave them something to do during the pandemic, which really allowed fans to have something, especially this exciting, during the pandemic. So I'm going to say this one will go A tier. The All-Star Game in general, there's been years where it's been really good and really favorable among fans, but just in recent years, it's really not been engaging. It's been like they're forcing too many ads on the All-Star Game and not enough actual showcasing of skills or best-on-best hockey, because a lot of the NHL players that are in the All-Star Game see it as more of just a fun event. They can go show their skills and have a good time. They don't really see it as something they need to really try for, which is why the All-Star Game sort of got a little stale at the beginning. So I'm going to put it at the top of C, because at one point it was really fun to watch, but nowadays it's not nearly as good as it used to be. Okay, so up next we have the World Cup of Hockey in 2016. Now, they've held World Cups before in the past, like 1998 there was one, and there was another one previously to that. But I'm specifically highlighting the 2016 one in the last 20 years. This tournament was generational. It was in September, which was months after the fact that the NHL and the International Olympic Committee decided to disagree on some things, which allowed NHL players not to return for the 2018 Winter Olympics. So the World Cup of Hockey really was like a last opportunity for players to play best on best and showcase their country on the grandest stage. This was amazing. It had teams like Russia, Sweden, Finland, Czechia, USA, and Canada as the nations that represented. It also had teams like Team Europe, which was quite interesting because it included nations like Germany, Slovenia, Denmark, and all those other miscellaneous countries that aren't big enough to have a really competitive hockey team, but it took athletes from each of those smaller nations and put them on one team, which I thought was amazing. This tournament did a great job at showing up-and-coming stars with the Team North America, which showcased Canadian and American skaters that were under the age of 23. So we saw players like Johnny Gaudreau, Austin Matthews, and other youngsters like that. It just showcased young up-and-coming futures as well as representing the best of what national hockey has to offer. So with that, I'm going to put it middle of A. I like expansion teams. The World Cup of Hockey was great, but I'd say expansion teams really have benefited more than the World Cup of Hockey has. And that leads us to the last one, which is the Four Nations Faceoff. Wow. The Four Nations Faceoff really started with the distaste for the All-Star Game. And it was really about rising fan opinions on people wanting to abolish the All-Star Game, get rid of it, and people really wanted to see best-on-best hockey again, like I said, with the World Cup of Hockey. People really wanted it, so the NHL decided instead to do a Four Nations Faceoff with Canada, Finland, Sweden, and the United States. And, 9 years after the World Cup took place, fans were dying for it, they were wishing for it, and they were happy they got it. Now, with a touch of some nationalism and a lot of turmoil between Canada and the United States, with a lot of Americans pushing that 51st state agenda, it led to maybe some of the most passionate hockey and most passionate sports seen to this day, especially when Canada and the States face off in the group stage and when they face off again in the finals. So I'm going to put Four Nations as number 1 in the S tier, and the reason why I'm putting it at number 1 is because I feel like we wouldn't even have NHL players in the Olympics if not for the success of the Four Nations Face-Off. So I think that's where I'm going to put it there, and then that is the tier list based off of how well these events specifically helped out the NHL and boosted them to be a better league or maybe even a little bit of a worse league in the eyes of some. Thank you.